Okay, we've shown you how to create unique indexes on collections. And now I want to talk to you about sparse indexes, which can be used to create unique indexes when the index key is missing from the document. So let's look at these four documents. These four documents, the first one has the keys A, B, and C. The second one has A, B, and C. The third has just A, B, and the fourth has just A, B. If we wanted to create a unique index on A, that would work fine, because A has a different value for each document, and A is included in every document, so it would work fine. But let's say we wanted to create a unique index on C, on the key C. Well, the first document and the second document both have C values, so that'll work just fine. But the third and fourth, they don't have C values, and it won't work. And the reason why you won't be able to create a unique index on C, just a unique one, is that these two documents right here are both considered to have a C value of null. And since a unique index only allows a value to appear once in the index, you would get a duplicate key entry if you tried to create a unique index on C for these four documents. So what's the solution to that? Well, you could remove the dupes when you're creating the index, but the problem is that would remove either this document or this document, which is certainly not what you want. So instead, you can create what's called a sparse index. And what a sparse index will do is it will only create index entries for the documents that contain the key being indexed. So if we are indexing against C, then there will be no index entries for this, and there will be no index entries for this. So let's go through in the shell and look at this and look at some of the ramifications of using a sparse index and what it means. Okay, we have a small collection of products, and I'll pretty print it. And we can see that the first document is a polo shirt, and it has a size of medium. And the second document is a pair of jeans, and it's got a size of 32 by 32. And the third document is an iPhone cradle. It has no size. And the fourth document is a deviated VGA cable, and it has no size. Well, if I wanted to create a unique index on size, which it's a little bit nonsensical, I don't know why you would do that, but let's just say you wanted to do it. And so let's do that by calling db.products.ensureIndex on size ascending, and let's give the option unique equals true. Let's see what happens when we try to do that. So what happens is we get an error. And we get an error because there are two documents in this collection that don't have a size and that both map to having a size of null. And that is going to be a duplicate key because you can't have null in the collection more than once. So, all right, what are my options? Well, my options are I could instead create this index with sparse equal to true. And now it's going to be fine. Now I'm able to create the index. There wasn't one index before, and now there are two. All right? And that pretty much works well. But there are certain things to think about when you create a sparse index. And in particular, if you use that index and you, for instance, sort on that index, then the results may not be what you'd expect. So we would certainly expect that if we call db.products.find, that we would get all the documents back. And we do. That's not surprising. But let's say we called db.products.find and said sort on size ascending. If we did that, then we still get all four documents back sorted by size. That's interesting. Okay, that's good. That's good. But let's see what index it's using. So I'm going to use an explain on this and see what it says. And it says that it's using a basic cursor for the index. So that's the reason why we're getting all the documents back. Okay. Well, what if we deliberately hinted and said we wanted to use the index on size ascending? Now, if we did that, then we only get two documents back. We did a find where we would expect all the documents, but we only got two back. And the reason we only got two back is that we're using the index size. The index size is sparse. The index on size is missing the two documents that don't have sizes, and so they're not included when it's returned. And if you call explain, you'll see that now it is using this index on size. So here it is, B-tree cursor size. We called explain to tell us the query plan, and it's using this index on size, and hence it's omitting the two documents. All right, well, that was a pretty tortured example, having to actually hint to use the size index when the database wouldn't use it by default. But what's important to remember with this is that this behavior changed when we went from MongoDB 2.4 to MongoDB 2.6. Okay? 2.6 was released in April 2014, and in MongoDB 2.4, the database, even if you hadn't given that hint, it would have used that index on size. So yes. Okay? In MongoDB 2.6, by default, it doesn't use that index. And the reason it doesn't use that index by default is that it knows that if it does, it's going to omit documents that would have otherwise been returned. So it's not going to use that index for the query for the sort. So this is a change of behavior from MongoDB 2.4 to MongoDB 2.6. And I think it's mostly a change of behavior for the better, because you kind of get the results you expect. But if you really want to force the older behavior, you can do so using the hint command. And you just have to remember that you may in fact omit documents that would have otherwise been returned by the query if you sort by a sparse index that is missing certain documents. All right, so thinking about MongoDB 2.6, let's go and do a quiz. So here's the quiz. Let's say that we have the following documents in a collection called people with the following docs. You can see there are 3 documents here. And the 3 documents, the first one has a name of Andrew, a title of Jester. The second one has a name of Dwight, title of CEO. The third one is name of John. There is no title. There's an index on this collection on the title key, and it is sparse. So if you perform this following query, what do you get back and why? So in MongoDB 2.6, if you perform the query and look for title null, all right, with a hint that it should use the title index, what would you expect to get back? And the answers are, well, it'll return no documents because the query uses the index and there are no documents with title null in the index. Or no documents because querying for title null only finds documents that explicitly have title null regardless of the index. The document for John because the query won't use the index. All the documents in the collection because title null matches all the documents. Or a document for John because the ensure index command won't succeed in this case.